I wanted forever, but I was always the only one. Planning. Have you ever loved someone who said they wanted a future with you, but never actually built anything toward it? They said all the right words. They made promises in the quiet moments. They talked about someday. But when it came time to show up, to commit, to grow together, they were nowhere to be found. You thought you were building a life together. They were just enjoying the present while you planned the future. This is the story of Hannah and Chris. A relationship filled with dreams, laughter, and shared plans until Hannah realized she was the only one taking those dreams seriously. Hannah met Chris at a friend's engagement party in Chicago. He was funny, thoughtful, and incredibly attentive. They clicked right away. What started as casual turned into something deeper within months. He called her his soulmate after 6 weeks. They would stay up late, imagining a life together, a house with a big kitchen, 2 dogs' vacations in the Pacific Northwest. At first, Hannah was enchanted. Chris was expressive and romantic. He wrote her notes, introduced her to his family, made her feel chosen. He talked about wanting to grow old with her, about how rare their connection was. She believed every word. But time passed, and actions never quite matched his words. Hannah brought up moving in together. Chris said, "Let's wait a few more months. I just need to get things in order." So she waited. She mentioned starting a joint savings account for their future. Chris smiled, kissed her on the forehead, and changed the subject. She suggested going to couples counseling, not because things were broken, but because she wanted to strengthen what they had. Chris laughed and said, "We don't need that. We're fine." Each time she brought up taking a step forward, he pulled slightly back. Gently, politely, but consistently. She tried not to push. She didn't want to seem demanding. She thought maybe she was just rushing, so she slowed down. But her heart never stopped pacing. Eventually, the conversation stopped altogether. Not because she gave up, but because she realized she was repeating herself. And Chris was repeating his silence. Then one night, after yet another vague answer to yet another important question, Hannah sat alone in their shared apartment, one they had finally moved into after 2 years of stalling. She looked at the dinner table she had set for 2, the candles burning low, and thought, "I'm planning a future with someone who's still deciding whether they want to stay for dinner." And it hit her. The truth she didn't want to face. Chris never lied. He just never followed through. He liked the idea of forever, but he never meant to live it. And so Hannah made the decision she had been avoiding. She left, not with bitterness, but with clarity. She wanted a partner, not a passenger. Hannah's story is for anyone who's ever felt like they were building a life with someone who was only visiting. It's easy to believe in words, especially when they're beautiful, especially when they come from someone you love. But love is not just spoken. It is shown day by day, choice by choice, step by step. If you are the only one pushing forward, planning, adjusting, sacrificing, it's not a partnership. It's a performance, and you are carrying the entire show alone. You deserve someone who doesn't just talk about the future, but actively builds it with you. Someone who doesn't need convincing to stay. Someone who chooses you, not just in their words, but in their effort. Choosing to walk away from unfulfilled promises isn't giving up. It's honoring yourself enough to stop waiting for someone who never truly showed up. You do only one trying. I was always the one making plans, setting timelines, asking the hard questions. He always nodded, smiled, and then changed the subject. I wasted 5 years waiting for a man who was comfortable but never committed. 58.1K likes you someday never came. This story is my story. He promised marriage, promised kids, promised everything, but never took a single real step toward it. When I left, he acted shocked. But honestly, I had already been alone for a long time. 51.7K likes. You, actions over words. This hits so deep. Love isn't hard to say. It's hard to prove. I learned that the hard way. Now I'm with someone who doesn't just say he loves me. He shows it. Every single day. 48.4K likes you building with someone new. I stayed with someone for years who loved the idea of me, but never supported the reality of us. Leaving was the scariest thing I've ever done. But now I'm finally with someone who wants to build, not just dream. 45.2K likes. He said his parents were dead. Then I found out he was hiding a whole family. When someone tells you their parents are gone, you don't question it. You offer comfort. You hold space. You don't ask for proof. But what happens when that story unravels, not because of an argument or a confession, but because of a birthday post, with cake candles and the parents who were supposed to be buried? This is the story of Elise, who dated Mark for over 2 years. She comforted him when he said he lost both parents young. She held him through the grief, never asked for details he didn't want to share. Until she saw a tagged photo on Instagram of Mark smiling between a man and woman cutting a birthday cake. The caption read, "So proud of our son. Love Mom and Dad." And just like that, Elise realized she wasn't dating an orphan. She was dating a liar who had more to hide than just his family. When Elise met Mark, he was quiet but warm. The kind of guy who didn't talk much at first, but remembered your coffee order and your dog's name. They met at a co-worker's dinner party and started dating a few weeks later. From the beginning, there was a shadow. Mark said both his parents had passed away. Cancer. Sudden. It was all very vague. Elise didn't push. She knew grief came in layers, and if he wasn't ready to open up, that was okay. Over time, he let little pieces slip, how he never celebrated holidays anymore, how he didn't have much extended family, how he hated hospitals. She believed him. For 2 years, Elise did what any partner would do. She brought him comfort during Mother's Day. She skipped family events when he felt triggered. She even framed a small photo of Mark as a boy, the only one he ever showed her a faded print of him, at what he claimed was age 10, sitting between 2 people whose faces were partially cut off. Then came his birthday. Mark said he wanted to keep it low-key. Elise baked him a cake. They stayed in. It was quiet, sweet, intimate. The next day, she got a notification one of her college friends had tagged her in a party recap album. Elise clicked through and saw him, Mark, in a different location. Same birthday. He was in a group photo arms around an older man and woman. The caption read, "Happy birthday to the best son we could ask for." Elise's heart dropped. She clicked their profiles. Mom and Dad had dozens of photos with Mark, from holidays, vacations, dinners. There were comments from friends, inside jokes, posts celebrating anniversaries, birthdays. Mark hadn't lost his parents. He had just erased them. When she confronted him, he didn't deny it. He said he wasn't ready to share them with her. Said they had a complicated relationship. Said he didn't want her to judge them or him. Elise asked, "But why did you say they were dead?" Mark just looked at her and said, "It was easier." She left that night. Not because his family was complicated, but because his lies were simple. This wasn't a white lie. This wasn't, "I forgot to mention." This was a foundational betrayal. Elise didn't lose trust because Mark had parents. She lost trust because Mark crafted an entire identity around grief and let her carry it with him. He made her grieve people who were alive. He let her light candles, skip holidays, and walk gently around wounds that didn't exist. That's not just deception. That's emotional theft. He took her empathy and fed it with fiction. And when she asked why, his answer wasn't about pain. It was about convenience. Because some people lie not to hide what hurts, but to control what others see. Mark didn't want to explain. He wanted control. Over how she saw him, how she felt for him, how deeply she stayed. And Elise. She stayed because she thought she was protecting someone broken. But in the end, she realized she was the only one being honest. And when truth lives in one direction, it becomes a prison. Fiction is not grief. He let her mourn ghosts that were never real. That's not just a lie. It's manipulative. It's cruel. 15.2K likes you used my empathy. Grief creates intimacy. He used that as a shortcut. That's unforgivable. 14.1K likes you ow not dead, just hidden. The phrase "it was easier" says everything. He didn't care about honesty. He cared about control. 13.6K likes you ow I would leave too. This isn't about parents. This is about trust. If someone lies about something this big, what else are they capable of? 12.8K likes. You teach you your grief hijacked. He hijacked a story of loss so she would treat him with tenderness. That's disgusting. 11.9K likes. What would you do if your partner made you grieve something? Someone that was never real? Would you stay or walk away? Let us know in the comments. Because sometimes the most heartbreaking betrayal is realizing your compassion was used as camouflage. I stayed because I was afraid to start over. Have you ever stayed in a relationship, not because you were happy, but because the idea of starting over terrified you? You tell yourself it's easier to stay, that things aren't that bad, that maybe it's just a phase. You keep hoping they'll change, that the warmth you felt at the beginning will come back. So you stay even though deep down you know you've already left emotionally. This is the story of Lily and Nathan, a love that faded slowly, painfully, until Lily realized that fear of change was the only thing keeping her from the life she truly deserved. Lily met Nathan during her senior year at the University of Michigan. He was kind, dependable, and made her feel safe. While her friends dated guys who ghosted them or played games, Nathan was different. He showed up. He texted back. He remembered the little things. They moved in together a year after graduation. Their life was stable, comfortable, predictable. At first, Lily thought she had everything she wanted. A good man, a decent apartment, a shared life. But as the years passed, she began to feel restless. Not because Nathan did anything wrong, but because something inside her had shifted. She wanted more passion, more connection, more depth. Their conversations became surface level. Their intimacy became routine. They stopped learning about each other, stopped growing, but every time she thought about leaving, something held her back. What if I never find someone else? What if I regret this? What if I'm just being ungrateful? What if I'm the problem? So she stayed. She convinced herself that being comfortable was enough, that not fighting often meant things were still good, that she was lucky to have someone who loved her even if she felt emotionally disconnected. But every morning she woke up with a quiet ache, a sense that she wasn't living fully, that she had outgrown the version of herself that once fit perfectly beside Nathan. One evening, while scrolling through old photos on her phone, she stumbled on a picture of herself from 4 years ago, laughing with her eyes closed, standing at the edge of a cliff in Oregon, arms wide open to the world. She stared at that photo for a long time and whispered, Where did she go? That night she realized the only reason she was still in the relationship was fear, not love. And that wasn't enough anymore. So with shaking hands and tears in her eyes, she told Nathan the truth. I'm not unhappy because of you. I'm unhappy because I stopped choosing myself. And then, for the first time in years, she chose to leave and begin again. Lily's story is a reminder that staying in a relationship out of fear isn't the same as staying for love. Comfort is not connection. Stability is not fulfillment. And familiarity is not joy. It's easy to stay with someone because they've never hurt you, because they're a good person, because it's been years and you've built a life together. But if you have to silence parts of yourself to make it work, it's not working. Starting over is terrifying, but staying stuck in something that no longer feeds your soul is even more painful. You deserve more than just not being alone. You deserve presence, passion, growth, and someone who meets you fully, not just conveniently. Choosing to walk away doesn't mean you gave up. It means you remembered that your life is worth living completely. You, silent drift. I stayed in a relationship for 7 years because it felt safe. But safety without connection became a prison. I wish I had left sooner, but I'm proud I finally did. 62.4K likes you better. Now reading this made me cry. I didn't realize how many people stay just because starting over feels overwhelming. I'm finally learning that discomfort is words to what I went through. 54. 3K likes you returning to me. You don't have to wait for things to fall apart completely before you leave. Sometimes the silence, the distance, the numbness that is the falling apart. 51.6K likes.